Something is very wrong with Alex Eala's money. And once you see the numbers, you won't be able to unsee them. We're talking about a 20-year-old girl from Quezon City who spent 3 years flying across the globe, competing in 27 tournaments in a single year, grinding through airports and hotel rooms and brutal 5-set matches, earning over 50 million Philippine pesos in prize money. And somewhere inside that mountain of earnings, according to documents that have now surfaced, a chunk of her money was allegedly being taken. Money she never approved. Money she never knew about. Money that someone, somewhere, was quietly collecting while she was busy winning matches and carrying the hopes of an entire nation on her back. So before we go any further, I need to ask you something. If you found out that the very organization built to protect professional athletes was allegedly the one exploiting them, what would you do? Because that's exactly the question Alex and her team are now sitting with. And the answer, or rather the silence where an answer should be, is what's making this story so explosive. Let's go back to the beginning, because to understand what allegedly happened to Alex's money, you first have to understand what it actually cost her to earn it. Alex wasn't handed anything. She wasn't born into a tennis dynasty. She grew up in the Philippines, a country where tennis has never been a top-tier sport, where the infrastructure for elite development is almost non-existent, where the idea of a Filipina competing at the top of the WTA rankings would have sounded like a fantasy just a decade ago. Her parents, businessman Mike Eala and former national swimmer Riza Maniego, believed in her enough to send her thousands of miles away to train at the Rafael Nadal Academy in Mallorca, Spain. Think about that for a second. A young girl, far from home, in a foreign country, training with some of the most competitive junior players in the world. That sacrifice alone tells you everything you need to know about who Alex Eala is. She didn't just develop her game there. She built her entire identity as a professional athlete inside those courts. And when she finally stepped onto the WTA tour, she didn't ease in quietly. She competed. In 2025 alone, she traveled to Australia, India, Singapore, Slovakia, the United States, Portugal, Spain, Italy, France, Great Britain, Canada, Mexico, Brazil, China, Japan, and Hong Kong. 16 countries. 27 tournaments. 2 coaches from the Rafa Nadal Academy traveling with her the entire time. Now here's what most people miss when they see a player's prize money figure. That number on the official leaderboard? It is not what actually lands in the player's bank account. Not even close. There are coaching fees, travel costs, accommodation across multiple continents, food, equipment, visa expenses, and then on top of all of that, taxes. Every country has its own rules. The United States withholds 30% from foreign players. France takes 15% from non-residents. Japan has its own structure. And so does every other country on that list. Former WTA player Daria Kasatkina once pointed out that professional players hire full-time tax consultants just to navigate this maze, because getting it wrong means legal consequences. Nobody wants to go to jail, she said. Alex's team understood all of this. They planned for the deductions. They budgeted for the coaches, the flights, the hotels, the taxes. Every single legitimate expense was accounted for. What they were allegedly not prepared for, what no one had apparently told them, was that there were other deductions happening. Ones that didn't appear on any official form. Ones that only became visible when someone went back and forensically examined 3 full years of financial records and laid every number side by side. And what they found, according to sources close to the situation, was a gap. A gap that had no explanation. A gap that grew larger the longer they looked. Now let's talk about the actual scale of what we're dealing with here, because the numbers are staggering. By the end of 2025, Alex had accumulated $907,777 in prize money for the year alone. That ranked her 74th on the WTA prize money leaderboard. A year earlier in 2024, she earned $289,628, sitting at position 159. The year before that, the numbers tell a similar story of growth. 3 years of climbing. 3 years of increasing earnings flowing through the WTA's payment systems. And 3 years' worth of financial records that, when examined closely, allegedly revealed something that should not exist. Her biggest single payout in 2025 was $332,160 from Miami. Her smallest was around $900 from an early exit at a smaller tournament. That range, that brutal financial swing between a great week and a bad one, is the reality of professional tennis below the elite tier. Alex sits in what you might call the middle zone. Successful enough that her earnings actually mean something, but not yet at the level where she has an army of accountants watching every transaction in real time. And that middle zone, according to what these documents allegedly expose, is precisely where an unauthorized deduction could survive undetected for years. Think about how that works for a moment. When you're competing at this level, you are constantly moving. You finish a tournament, you fly to the next city, you practice, you play, you lose or you win, and then you do it all again. You don't have time to audit 3 years of international prize money disbursements. You trust the system. You trust the people running it. You trust that the organization built to govern your career is actually working in your interest. And that trust, that completely reasonable, completely human trust, is allegedly what was exploited here. But here's where the story shifts from financial scandal to something that genuinely makes you angry on a human level. While all of this was allegedly happening, while those unauthorized deductions were supposedly being quietly extracted, Alex was out there giving everything she had. She was on overnight flights between continents, pushing through jet lag and physical exhaustion and the kind of mental pressure that comes with representing an entire country's sporting identity. The Philippines had never had a player at this level. Every match she played carried a weight that most athletes never experience. Every victory became national news back home. Every loss was felt by millions of people who had adopted her as a symbol of what Filipino talent could achieve on the world stage. She spoke once about returning to Quezon City and being stopped everywhere she went for photographs. People who had known her since she was a child suddenly looking at her differently. The ordinary comfort of home had changed completely. She was managing all of that emotionally, professionally, physically, while allegedly being financially exploited by the system designed to support her. That's not just a financial story. That's something darker. And the Philippine government apparently started noticing. The Philippine Sports Commission, which monitors the earnings of nationally recognized athletes, reportedly flagged discrepancies between the official WTA prize money figures and the amounts verified through separate financial channels. Then the government reportedly requested clarification through diplomatic channels. That's 3 independent points of confirmation: the auditors, the Sports Commission, and the diplomatic inquiry, all pointing toward the same arithmetic problem, all asking the same question, and all receiving the same response from the WTA. Nothing. No statement. No press release. No spokesperson stepping forward to address the specific figures. No invitation for independent financial review. Just silence. Calculated, deliberate, institutional silence. Now, silence from a powerful organization in a moment like this is never neutral. It is a choice. And the tennis world understood exactly what that choice communicated. Former players, several of them with their own past frustrations regarding WTA financial administration, started speaking privately to reporters. One former top 50 player, who asked to remain anonymous, described the prize money disbursement process as deliberately complicated. "You get a number," she said. "You're told what was taken out for taxes. You believe it because you have no way to independently verify every single deduction across every single country. Most players just move on. They have the next tournament to prepare for. Most players do. But when Alex's team decided not to move on, when they went back 3 full years instead of accepting the current numbers at face value, the structure that had allegedly hidden those discrepancies for so long became visible for the first time. Social media did what social media does. Filipino sports journalists began cross-referencing publicly available WTA data against tournament records. International tennis media submitted formal information requests. The story that WTA administrators apparently hoped would stay quiet started spreading across every platform simultaneously, and the momentum became impossible to contain. Here is the part that you need to sit with. Alex Eala is currently ranked 29th in the world. She enters the 2026 Miami Open seeded 31st. She is the highest-ranked Filipino player in WTA history. She is a commercial force. Her jersey controversy alone proved that the market around her name generates serious money. Sponsors know it. Broadcasters know it. The WTA knows it. She is no longer a vulnerable young player without leverage. She is a genuine competitive and commercial presence within the organization that allegedly exploited her financial vulnerability when she had none of that power. That dynamic, a player now strong enough to demand accountability, still embedded within the institution she'd be confronting, creates a tension that has no clean resolution. Aryna Sabalenka topped the 2025 WTA prize money list with over $15 million in earnings. The gap between Sabalenka's number and Alex's $907,000 tells you exactly where Alex sat in the financial hierarchy. Significant enough to be materially damaged by unauthorized deductions. Not yet significant enough to have automated detection systems flagging every transaction on her behalf. She was, allegedly, in the exact window of vulnerability that a systemic exploitation could survive inside without triggering any automatic alarm. That window, according to these documents, was used. But here is what matters now. The documents exist. The auditors have the numbers. 3 independent institutions have asked questions. And the WTA has chosen silence over transparency at every single opportunity. That silence is the story. Because when a governing body with the resources and the legal infrastructure to immediately disprove these allegations instead chooses to say absolutely nothing, you have to ask yourself what they're protecting and why. Alexandra Eala spent years building something extraordinary from nothing, in a country where the odds were stacked against her, competing at a level that demanded everything she had physically, mentally, and emotionally. She trusted a system that professional athletes are given no real choice but to trust. And if these documents are what they appear to be, that trust was allegedly betrayed in the most cynical way possible. Not through a single dramatic act, but through quiet, bureaucratic, almost invisible extractions that were designed to go unnoticed. The question now isn't whether the numbers add up. The numbers, according to multiple sources, clearly do not. The question is whether the institution powerful enough to have allegedly run this system is also powerful enough to outlast the accountability closing in around it. And whether Alex, now 20 years old, now ranked 29th in the world, now standing at the threshold of a career that could redefine Philippine sports history, is going to get every single peso she earned. So tell me something. After everything you just heard, do you think the WTA will answer? Or will the silence continue? Drop your thoughts below because this conversation is just getting started.